welcome back to S.P.L.I.F.F with your host, Fawn. Today we have a wonderful, beautiful, amazing guest with us. This is Ryan. Say hello, Ryan.
Hey.
And we're going to talk about the time that we found a dead body on campus. So,
Fun stuff.
For those who haven't joined us, S.P.L.I.F stands for Spiritual Perspectives. Spiritual Perspectives of Life, Interconnections, and Fuckery with Fawn.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right? Oh my gosh. Girl, I'm already starting. Here we go. All right. So, Ryan, why don't you give us an introduction to yourself? What do you believe in? Who are you? Oh, wait. Let's talk about how I know you. Okay, so I met Ryan in college. I somehow, do you remember how I ended up in your dorm room? I don't.
So, I think it was before that because it was during the game of Manhunt, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
For those don't oh my god, this is gonna be one of them episodes. For those who don't know, what is Manhunt?
So it's like hide and seek, but for grown-ups, because grown-ups can't call it hide and seek because hide and seek's for kids, but it's hide and seek for grown-ups.
Oh.
And we played across the whole campus, and my roommate Blake was the one that organized it, and I forget what the chain of people was that led to you and me playing at the same time. I think it was Manya. I think Manya dragged you into it, and we ended up hiding in your car for the entire game, and we won. And that was where we met, and had our little bonding over our knives.
Yeah, we had the same pocket knives, which I'm not really nice to really call it a pocket knife because they're more of like hawkbill blades. But yeah, we had the same knife, and not too many people have seen that. But yeah, so that's how we first met. And then the second time we hung out, I ended up drunk in your dorm room. I went through 2 bottles of wine. We don't condone underage drinking, by the way.
We don't.
And I don't recommend 2 bottles of wine for anyone, but college kids don't have logic. So
went a little wild.
Do you remember how long it was after that we remembered the past life, so to speak? Or I just realized that he's my grandpa. Ryan be my grandpa in every life except this life. You're my best friend. So
I think it was pretty immediate. I don't think it was that far between getting wine drunk in the dorm and that realization.
Yeah, I was super into my spirituality then, really devoted. I think it was really the only thing that was driving me forward. So I was always looking for reason and purpose of why people were in my life. So also I think initiated a lot of the memories with people. But why don't you let us know what you believe in? What does Ryan believe in?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a fun question. I feel like my beliefs are pretty esoteric. I kind of pull from a lot of different things to sort of explain kind of the things that I've seen in my life, things I've seen and experienced, such as past lives, like spirits, all that sort of stuff. It's kind of, I grab the labels from other places, but I'd say my spiritual beliefs are just what I see, what I feel,
Okay.
what I know.
Do you recall when I met you and started explaining my spiritual beliefs to you? I remember you being like, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a very, very vivid memory of that, actually. Because you were putting into words things that I was thinking about at the time that no one else expressed in the same way. I was like, she gets it. She gets it.
I love that. I love that. I feel like that's why me and you connected so well. And just same with Dow. You two were really the first people in my life to not judge me for my spirituality, aside from my dad, obviously, because that's who I learned it from. But all right, I think it's time. Everyone has been waiting to hear about, what the story and what the experience was around finding a dead body on campus. And before we start, by no means do I want this to be mockery or for it to be oh, how cool or anything. We're just sharing this experience
It's a
one,
thing that happened.
it's the thing that happened, but also how it affected our spirits.
Mhm.
And with this podcast being part of my spiritual beliefs and really helping people understand what that means, this I think can be important to. Granted, probably not a lot of people are going to go and find a dead body, but I
It's not
just
super relatable.
not, not the most relatable thing, but I think it's an interesting story to understand through our perspective. By no means do we want to mock the person who's passed away,
Right.
and we hope that their family has healed and is processing their grief from that. That was a long time ago, but that's still, grief
Mhm.
exceeds over that. So, hmm, let's see.
It was a long time ago. That was like 8 or 9 years, right?
Yeah, it was our sophomore year, I think.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, and just to clarify, this case is not open. It has been closed. It was rolled as a OD. Of course, you'll hear mine and Ryan's opinions and thoughts about the whole experience as well. But here we go. So let's start with that day.
Mhm.
Um, so me and Ryan were eating at the cafeteria,
Mhm.
and we was like, you know what, bro? I don't know. Was it me? It was me that was like, or was it
Think
you?
so.
Yeah, bro. You're asking us to try and remember a
Yeah.
story from that long ago with all the things in between that. But one of us, pretty sure it was me, was like, let's go for a walk.
Mhm.
And Ryan was like, okay, where do you want to go? I was like, I don't know. What do you think? Ryan suggested the bamboo forest. Would you like to tell them
Yeah.
about what the fucking deal with the bamboo
Yeah, so,
forest was?
beside the campus, there's a little bamboo forest. It's really pretty. It was a place that we found, I forget when, before that, like, a while before that. We used to go there a lot before then, or before that day, just to wander around, be there. We had a couple of, other sort of spiritual experiences dealing with the bamboo forest, and because of
Yeah.
those, we stopped going as much.
Yeah, we felt like a weird spiritual
Yeah,
unbalance there. And a lot of kids went to this place to smoke
yeah,
weed. Um,
it's a popular spot.
it was yeah, but I guess we kind of went a little bit farther than most people.
Yeah.
But so Ryan suggested, let's go to the bamboo forest. I was like,
Hmm.
okay. Do you recall what you said?
I do.
What did you say?
I said, are you said, after I said, let's go to the bamboo forest. We haven't been there in a while. You said, are you sure about that? Like, I don't know. Bamboo forest is a little sketchy. I was like, it's the worst that could happen.
What's the worst that could happen? This isn't that man's why? Oh no. What's the worst that
What's
could
the worst
happen?
that could
This
happen?
motherfucker right here. What is the worst that could happen? Well, let us tell you what the worst thing that could happen was.
Wasn't great.
It was great. No, and again, all chuckles, we're giggling, we're
Hmm.
laughing. It's funny, but the whole concept of it is not funny. Death is not funny, but it's the fact that this motherfucker's really like, what's the
Hmm.
worst that can happen? Oh, he stumbles upon a fucking dead
Yeah.
body. um, so we go walking, right? And we're getting into the path, and I'm feeling a little hesitant. I don't know how. Were you feeling anything? I was feeling hesitant. I do recall that being like, I don't know, but Ryan said, let's go this way. So,
I don't think I was feeling anything at that point. I
uh,
remember we found, like, a trail of feathers on the way there.
yeah, that was what I was gonna bring up next.
Yeah.
So I was feeling hesitant, and I was like, well, maybe I was thinking to myself, like, maybe we should turn around. But then I saw a feather,
Mhm.
and I haven't actually did a video on what feathers mean to me, but they're really significant into my beliefs. And so when I see a feather, I pick it up.
Mhm.
And Ryan picks up feathers too. So we literally were like, okay, I was like, maybe we should turn around. Oh, look at this feather. And I was like, oh, look at this feather. Oh, look at this feather. So I'm like picking up these feathers, right? And
We wanted some absolutely, like, Hansel and Gretel type shit.
ooh, piece of candy.
Ooh, piece of candy.
And so looking back now, I really feel like the creator did that to lure us into
Mhm.
this place because they knew that that was a way to keep my attention. So we
Mhm.
get to the end of the trail of the feather trail, and we're past the bamboo forest at this point. We went a little bit deeper into the woods. And I just remember it's like, okay, well, maybe we should turn back. And then I saw trash. I was like, Ryan, we gotta pick up all this
Gotta
trash.
pick up the
Yeah,
trash.
we respect
Can't leave litter
nature.
in the woods.
Yeah. So we're starting to pick up trash. And I've been down, and I don't recall what the piece of trash was, but I've been down and I like look up slightly, and then I see a blue shirt and khaki pants, and it looks like
Mhm.
somebody's like taking a nap.
Yeah.
And you remember Ryan? I was like, Ryan, you see that? And I was
Yeah.
like, hello? Hello? I was like, Ryan, are they napping or something? What's going on?
Yeah.
Right? And we're just kind of like,
We just kinda left him alone for a couple minutes and,
yeah.
just went by the creek and we're just sitting there, and then he was still there.
Yeah, because he didn't move. We was like,
Mhm.
okay, maybe something's wrong. I didn't want to interrupt somebody's nap. Like, I'd be napping in the middle of the woods. Maybe not on
Mhm.
like the pool ground, but I nap in the
Yeah.
woods. Usually I have a yoga mat, but
Mhm.
I don't just so we was trying to be respectful. But then we realized he's not moving, he's not saying anything.
Mhm.
So I get up, I walk a little bit closer, and I was probably the distance, I don't know, like 7, 8 feet. It wasn't super close and not super far. And I will never forget that smell,
Mhm.
bro. Oof. This person had been there for 3 months is what the, report said. Now, we didn't know that in the time
Mhm.
being, but the report
Yeah.
said that
Found that
he
out later.
had been, decomposing for 3 months, and so, like, the smell was fucking awful.
Yeah.
Ugh, I can't even describe it, and I really hope that nobody has to experience that, but as I looked at this body and I was close enough. I think I took a couple steps closer, and I saw what to me looked like bullet hole wounds,
Mhm.
and like there was blood on him, and
Yeah.
um I didn't see the face because his back was facing us, and it just like, ugh, ooh, I'm feeling it right now. It
Mhm.
was, a lot of people like, oh my gosh, that must have been so traumatizing, and the next part I think is what hit me. And Ryan was a little farther back from me,
Yeah.
but I kind of like took some steps back and was like, oh shit, Ryan, that's a dead body.
Yeah.
Ryan, you see that? I had to like confirm with him because I was like, am I hallucinating? Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
I was kinda picking up on the same thing from where I was too, like, I could see, like, not as clearly as you, but I could see, like, the holes and the blood, and
Yeah,
I got, like, a really strong sense of, like, "Alright, something's really wrong here."
yeah, it was wild, man. And so we stepped back. We were talking to each other, trying to like conceive like what the hell is happening, and then all of a sudden, I get this like overwhelming dark feeling that just like engulfs my body, and I just feel like there's somebody standing behind us in the
Mhm.
bamboo forest, like in the bamboo hiding, and that we're gonna get shot. I just had this
Yeah.
overwhelming feeling. It's like, Ryan, we gotta go, man. We're gonna get shot. And
Mhm.
like Ryan didn't question it. Ryan was like,
No, I
what you
felt
mean?
the same thing.
Ryan thought the same thing. We was like, whoa, that
We
was
gotta go. We gotta leave now.
that was so bizarre, and just we talking about it again is like
Mhm.
bringing those feelings, and like I'm really visualizing that again. Ooh.
We were
So
calm on the outside too, like, despite feeling that way, we were pretty,
yeah,
put together, I remember.
yeah, and the security
We were
guard
just very, like,
mentioned,
straightforward, like, "Alright, like, what are we doing? Where are we going?"
yeah, so yeah, yeah, because you're having these things inside, and as me even, being expressing the spiritual stuff to you, you're still gonna hold that inside because that's like crazy. Like, what do you mean? You found a dead body, now you think you're gonna get shot? Anyways, we decided to get out of there and call campus security. And so we called campus security, and it was like, I know this how this sounds, like it's not a prank call. Like,
Mhm.
we're pretty sure we found a dead body, but we want confirmation before we just call the cops on the campus. Like, I don't know what the procedure is for this. What is the procedure?
Mhm.
And so this campus security guard, he doesn't work there anymore, but he was awesome. He was just great. So he's like coming in the woods. He was asking us a couple questions. Do you remember? I don't.
Um, I think just basic stuff like, asking us, like, how we got there, like, what we remember, what we saw,
Yeah, and kind of
like,
like,
where it was.
I remember being like, "I swear we're not pranking you. I
Yeah.
know how this seems like we're leading you into the middle of the woods. Like, this is crazy. I don't know what's going on." And
Mhm.
he just, willingly came with us, and he was
Yeah.
like, I don't even think he got nearly as close as we did.
Nah.
And he's like, "Oh shit, that's a
Yeah.
dead body. Yep, uh-huh. Let's go. Let's go. We gotta call the cops. Let's
Mhm.
go. Turn around."
Mhm.
And so we're walking out. And as we're walking out,
Yeah.
we see
Coming towards us.
coming towards us. We're not gonna mention any names, we don't mention
Mhm.
names. But we had an acquaintance friend. I guess they were a little bit more than an acquaintance.
Yeah.
But someone who I think maybe wouldn't have been able to handle that situation very
Yeah.
nonchalantly like we were.
Not as well as us.
But I don't know because we didn't know that person on that level, and this person was with another person I've never seen. But we came
Mhm.
out and was like, "Oh no, 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 no! Don't go in there! Don't go in there!" And the campus security guard was like, "No, no, no! You have to leave! You have to leave!"
Mhm.
So we get there, we're waiting. The cops come, and the security guard. Would you like
Cops.
to tell his
Oh,
like?
yeah.
He
Yeah,
was
this
so funny.
this is just funny. So the cops come, they talk to us for a second, then they go into the woods to, go see the body and, deal with all that, and the security guard, we're alone with him. He comes back over to us, and he's like, "Alright, y'all, so just remember, we didn't see none, we ain't hear none, we won't even there." And that has just lived rent free in my head ever since. That stuck with me.
And, like, of course, like, we didn't see her, none of those
Yeah.
things are true, but it was just kind of comical that this person was like,
Mhm.
make sure, pretty much
Yeah.
making sure that we don't make ourselves liable. So we're standing around for a hot minute.
It was a while.
It was a
Like, it was like
while just chilling, and then somebody finally comes around because it's not a thing in this area. People don't deal with that in this
yeah,
area.
no.
And somebody comes around and goes, "Oh, well, take yourselves to the station." I found that strange, in my opinion. Like, that's not how the movies do it. You know? Granted, I know that everything's different in real life, but I
Mhm.
just found that strange that they just trusted us to go to the station. But of course we're gonna go because, like,
Yeah.
we just trying to do the right thing. So me and Ryan, I drive Ryan and I down to the police
Mhm.
station. We walk in, we're standing around waiting, waiting, waiting. "What are you doing
Waiting.
here?" "They told us to come here because we're the ones that found the dead body." "Oh, okay, well, have a seat." Then we're waiting, 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 waiting. Well, dinner was at like 5 p.m. I think by the time they actually got to question, it had to be around like 8 or 9
It's
p.m.
around 9, I think. Yeah.
So they is
And they did it one at a time too.
yeah, they questioned us separately. Then they questioned us together at some point too, or they talked to us together. I do remember the
Hmm.
individual
Oh,
interrogation,
yeah.
not questions,
Yeah.
interrogation, because I got so mad. I
Yeah,
was so
I
mad.
don't remember them talking to us both at the same time.
Okay, I couldn't
They
remember
might
if
have,
they.
but, I don't
I
remember
don't
it.
think it was like story based, but I feel like they talked to us while we were sitting in the chair and was like asking like small questions.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but then they took us in one at a time. I don't remember who went first. Was
It was
you?
you.
Me?
It was you. I remember because I was on the phone with my brother in the waiting room.
And so, I mean, I remember these questions. I'm sure maybe they asked you different, maybe they asked you the same, but
I remember it.
bruh, I was so mad, and I get
Mhm.
it. They were doing their job. I get that. I'm not coming for anyone that's doing their
They were
job, but
very aggressive
they
with the
were so
questions.
aggressive for no reason.
For
Like,
no reason.
I just, bro. So, got two dudes in there, and they're like, "What were you doing in the woods?" I was like, "Going for a walk." "Well, you and your friend look about you guys could carry," like, implying, like, trying
Yeah.
to catch me, and the questions were just bizarre, like, "Were you on drugs?" People go back there to smoke drugs. I said, "No,
Mhm.
you wanna blood test me?" Oh my god, I was so angry, and no, no, do not condone you getting aggressive with police officers, but I was, not at a good, like, rational place in my life. I didn't handle authority well. I didn't
Mhm.
handle that I was trying to do the right thing and being what I felt like was, like, aggressively disrespected. Like, dude, I told you what happened. Why are you asking more questions? And again,
Mhm.
I get it. It's their job. I understand that now. Like, but then I was not having it. We've been waiting around. And then I had a big test the next day. I had lessons to
Yeah.
practice for. I was so over it and so mad that they were implying that, because of Ryan's size and plus me, maybe we could move somebody that way. What if we were the people that were like calling
Mhm.
it in months later? Blah blah blah. I was like, what are you going on
Yeah.
about?
It's like weird conspiracies.
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's normal for interrogation. I don't know. I just figured I thought it was gonna be like, let me take down your name, number,
Yeah.
tell me your story, we'll contact you
We were
later.
there until midnight.
Oh my
We
god.
didn't leave the station until midnight.
Yeah. Oh, it was wild. Wild is
Mhm.
the best way to describe this experience. And then I remember getting annoyed with these questions. And I was like, I have no issue answering your questions, but I really don't appreciate that you're implying that we did this when I said we didn't. And I get
Mhm.
it, whatever, doing your job, but I have lessons to do. Can I leave?
Mhm.
He said, if you leave, you'll be the number one suspect. You need to sit here and wait till we're done questioning you. And the other one was like, Ma'am, I understand you're frustrated, but can you not give us so much attitude? Again, I don't condole that. What was I, fucking 18?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's my sophomore year. I hadn't turned 19 yet. I was 18. And like, I was a sassy little teenager who didn't handle any of that well. I don't know. What was
Mhm.
your experience, Ryan? Because, yeah.
It was pretty similar. They asked me the same questions. I feel like they were probably a little bit less aggressive with me than with you because they already went through the difficulties of interrogating you. But they were still kind of pushy with it, and I just kind of short answered them because I also do not deal well with authority, especially the police. So which we don't condone
Yeah,
much.
be respectful to, like, again, this is just our story. It's
Yeah.
we're different now. If this happened now, I'm sure we both would handle it differently.
Hmm.
Um
But yeah, I just kind of just short answered the questions. I gave them the bare minimum, like truthfully, like they're like, "What were you doing in the woods? Going for a walk. Are you guys on drugs? No. So did you have anything to do with this? No. Like your friend have anything to do with this? No.
Oh, I remember one of the questions that I think really set me off. Not only
Hmm.
did they ask if we moved it, like, or implied that you were strong enough to move that body. And Ryan's strong, but this was like I'd say this person was like in the 200 pounds, like
Yeah, he's a big guy.
dead weight. I don't, whatever. One of the other things was like, they implied, well, what if his story is different than yours? I was like,
Yeah.
then it won't be. What? As
Yeah.
it won't be. This is what happened. It was weird, man. It kind of felt very much like the TV shows. Like,
Yeah. The only thing missing was they had like the lights on. They didn't have like the lights off and the flashlight at your face
yeah.
like that. Otherwise, they were with it. Like TV interrogation.
Yeah. And so, like, we got out of the station around midnight. I was pissed. Fucking didn't get any of my homework done. I had to study.
Hmm.
Da da da. I had to practice for all the shit that came the next day. They did tell us that we weren't allowed to talk about it while it was an open investigation,
Yeah,
and that it was like against the law, I think is what they said, or something.
something like that.
Well, this isn't where the fuckery stops, right?
Keeps
So,
going.
so it keeps going, and they never contacted us after this. But what happened on campus was fucking insensitive.
Yeah.
And, some people could argue us telling the story is insensitive. And if you feel that way, I'm sorry. That's not our intention. Again, we're getting to the point, we're telling the story, and we're going to get to the point of the spiritual
Hmm.
impact. But so we get on campus, and I go to the person that I was seeing and, like, have my, like, breakdown. I call them super late, like, oh my God, this happened. I'm so mad. All these
Hmm.
feelings. And then I don't know where you went that night, but
I don't remember where I went that night. I think
eventually,
bed. I
Ben,
think bed.
eventually, we were like keeping this to ourselves, minus that one I told my person I was seeing at the time. But
I did tell
don't name drop. You told some friends, right?
a professor.
A professor. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. You told the professor, and that
Hmm.
that was the whole thing. Uh,
Um.
hold on, before you dive into that, um, I think I want to talk about how it felt for me and a little bit of you. I don't remember you expressing the upsetness. what am I trying to say?
Upsetness.
Upsetness as much as I ooh, because I'm an empath and I get so mad when I see people doing things that I wouldn't do.
Mhm.
And so we're sitting, the next day, we're sitting eating cafeteria
Yeah,
food before we
all the
really
rumors and people talking.
yeah, before we even really talked to your professor, before we talked to things, before we, like, really
I don't know, I
look
talked to that professor,
that
that
morning?
morning.
Oh, yeah, that's right, that morning.
Yeah, 'cause, that was the fun without the F. There were a lot of Fs, later in that conversation.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's just yeah. Go ahead and tell that story. Again, no name drops,
No name drops.
don't reference their
I won't be
position, nothing
specific.
like that.
Yeah.
Because we don't want anyone to get bullied or shamed in any type of way.
Yeah, there was a, professor who I, didn't have a great relationship with. We didn't get along very well for a lot of reasons. And so I was usually that at that point, I think that was like the second or third course that I had with that professor. Um so I was over it. I was over it by then. And normally that would be running late to class because I didn't especially care or respect that professor, which
Not
go to your classes on time.
and don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do
Don't be petty like me. I was incredibly petty. But in that case, I was late for a very perfectly good reason because I was kept out all night by the police. And this professor chose that day of all days to address the class with a whole speech about attendance and tardiness, and made the comment looking at me like very obviously directed at me. Um, I'm positive that my weekend was busier than any of yours, so you have no excuse for being late.
incredibly dismissive.
Incredibly dismissive, and I raised my hand and I was like, so actually, I'll talk to you after class. And I went to their office after class and I explained the situation, or I was going to explain the situation, but as soon as I stepped in the door, they started ranting at me about my attendance and being late and how it was very disrespectful that I was late that morning, which, given the prior history of being late, was slightly fairer than I gave them at the time. But that morning, like I had a very good reason for being late, and the thing that set me off is I interrupted them. I was like, "So the dead body that was found on campus, that was me. I found that. Um, that was why I was late. I was at the police station all night dealing with the investigation." And they stopped for a second and then continued
God, I remember
like,
that.
"Oh, well, that still doesn't excuse me being late to my class." And just kept on. So I stormed out, slammed the door, went downstairs to
Called me or
where
found
you
me.
were. Yeah, I found you. You were leaving class. I don't remember the exact string of words that I used, but they were loud and angry. And
Yeah, Ryan okay, so Ryan was, like, releasing all of this
I was venting
intense
a lot of anger and
and
frustration.
so much so it sounded like Ryan was yelling at me that somebody came around the corner and was
There were a
like
couple people that asked about, like, me and, asked you, like, how I was doing, what was
yeah.
going on, like, throughout that day.
Yeah, they asked if like one asked, I think it was this one girl asked if it was like an abusive relationship, like
Mm.
like we were together and he was like yelling at me. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
No,
whoa,
no,
whoa,
no, no.
no. Ryan just had a rough morning and was releasing those feelings, and I was just being that person that he's releasing them to, not at. It
Mhm.
looks like it was at me. But that was intense. I've seen Ryan that upset twice. It was that time in um I can't remember the second time. I think it was at my house when
I feel
one
like
of the
there was another one.
parties. Anyways, I just that was like
Mhm.
the first time I ever seen Ryan, and I think to this day, maybe that other one that I can't really recall wasn't even that bad
Yeah.
because I can't recall it. But I've never seen Ryan scream like that,
I was
yell.
livid.
He was so mad, and I was like, "Whoa!" Leave me alone. we could probably take the time to really reflect on that now and be like, we
Yeah.
were probably not even aware that we were traumatized.
Yeah, no, I was not in a good headspace, I don't think.
I remember that whole process and all this is like, I'm not even phased. I'm not even phased.
Yeah, same.
And Ryan was saying the same thing, like we weren't phased. Like
We
obviously
were pretty phased.
we were pretty phased, or we wouldn't be flipping shit,
Yeah.
screaming and losing our shit on everyone. So that then we go to the cafeteria.
Mhm.
And we're sitting there, and I'm with the person that I've seen, and I think it was just me, you, and that person. And we're just like sitting there, and we hear these people behind us talking about, oh my God, it's so cool. I wish I found the body. I
Yeah.
got infumed. Like my body was turned
Yeah.
into a fire. I was so mad. I had to leave. I had to
Mhm.
leave the cafeteria because it was so invalidating to
It's
not.
just gross.
Gross. Yeah, it's not cool to find a
Yeah.
dead body. That's not cool. This experience isn't
Yeah.
cool.
No.
It's traumatizing. And I know that we're okay with talking about it, but like, dude, it's not cool. And I get that, young college kids insensitive, but it's also incredibly insensitive to that person that passed away.
Mhm.
That you wish you were the person that discovered somebody who's deceased? What?
Yeah. I still remember one of the biggest, like, takeaways from that whole experience was just kinda registering the way people talked about it, and it was always just, like, they just talked about him like a thing instead of as a person.
Yeah,
That's really just dehumanizing, and
yeah, and I think that
yeah.
laps over into a lot of stuff that goes on today that unless you know the person personally, people like often don't humanize.
Yeah.
Like you said, talk about people that have passed away as things, or they're talking about like school, mass school harms and things, and they
Mhm.
just don't. We lost our humanity. I think sometimes maybe that's I think that some people process it that way because they can't actually put themselves in their shoes and it might be too hard for them. But
Mhm.
also, like, come on, man. Anyways, it was a lot for us to process. So then there was these people who were tasked with the school newspaper to discover, to find the
Yeah.
people that found the deceased body.
I do
Remember?
remember, one thing is that, yeah, I did tell one of them about that because, they were a close friend of mine at the time, and that was where I went, after we left the station that night.
Oh.
'Cause I ran into one of them, like, I think on the way back to my dorm, and, they were asking a bunch of questions and was, like, explaining, they're like, "Oh my god, like, you should come over, like, stay in our dorm for the night. Just to, like, make sure you're good, make sure you're safe."
Oh
It's like,
yeah,
"Okay."
I remember, and they were like super compassionate towards you,
Yeah.
but it was like whoever was in charge was like
Yeah.
trying to get the scoop of the year
Mhm.
and was pushing the school newspaper to go seek the people who found it and write the story from their perspective. Which, mind you, weren't even allowed. We weren't even allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I remember you approaching me or bringing it up that they had asked you about talking to me, and
Yeah.
you you told them what?
Yeah.
What did you tell them about talking to me? Do you
While
remember?
talking to you?
Yeah.
Um, I don't remember the exact wording, but it was something along the lines of, like, "Good luck." Like, "Have fun with that."
I definitely I recognize now that the way that I processed that was through a lot of anger, and I
Mhm.
associate anger in my life now as my soul being generally upset that something happened to me or someone around me that was just not okay,
Mhm.
or violating in some type of way. And I think that whole experience that we're around all these kids talking about, oh my God, it's so cool, I want to find it, and then they're being pushed to discover these people who talk about the scoop story of this year type shit. So insensitive. I was
Yeah.
so angry at all the insensitivities that came from it. Anyways, let's get into the spiritual part.
Let's get into the
So
spiritual
this is
part.
just the fuckery that we dealt with, the insensitivity that's created by our society and our culture.
Mhm.
And then, people are like, "Oh, were you traumatized? Like, was it terrible to see the body?" Yeah, that was not pleasant. I'm not gonna say it was not pleasant. But what
Mhm.
got me was every night after seeing that body, I would close my eyes. It wasn't even all the way to sleep. I would close my eyes and I would see his body, and then I would see this demonic creature standing over top of it. And like, girl, oh,
Mm.
I'm gonna have to say it. We're gonna have to sage after this to
Yeah.
make sure that that energy doesn't come back. But it it was humanoid-ish, you know, like legs and arms, and it was so muscular and big and didn't look like a human, but looked like a demon, like your typical demon with horns and all that and claws and whatever, but had these fucking bright red piercing eyes that it would lock eyes with me. I would close my eyes, I'd be standing there, and it would raise its hand and be like, "You're next." And I
Mm.
just couldn't fucking sleep. I couldn't sleep because I'm like, what the fuck? I had dealt with a lot of spiritual shit before this, but like, what the fuck? I've never had like I didn't have anything
Yeah.
that was just mind blowing. And I would wake up to whispers in my ears and footsteps in my room. And um, at one point my hair got pulled, and at one point I got pushed, and I like tripped, like pushed down the stairs, but not like push super hard, but I
Mhm.
was pushed, and I caught myself, and I turned around and ain't nobody there.
Mhm.
And it's this demon and this person's spirit were latched onto me and Ryan, and was
Mhm.
like, the demon I think was really trying to snuff our light and snuff the truth of what we felt like actually happened to this person, and that person was just like being held here in this realm by.
Mm.
You had some experiences too, right? Like your hair, I think you said, did you get your hair pulled? I don't remember.
Maybe? I don't remember that either, but, possible? That sounds kinda familiar. I do remember, like, I didn't really get any, like, it's like visual things as much as you, which I usually don't. Like, for me, it's a lot more like sensations and feelings. And I do remember just that lingering, like something's off, like something's wrong from the moment we found the body. Just kind of lingering for weeks after that.
Yeah. I had a lot of dreams. So, like I said, I closed my eyes, I'd see that, and then I would have dreams of just that. And I had dreams of me getting shot a lot
Hmm.
too. Um, it's just reliving that possible reality that this person may have been unalived intentionally. And that, again,
TikTok language.
yeah, it's actually YouTube that's more, well, I don't know, I think TikTok's about it too.
TikTok's where it started.
Um, but yeah, so me and I had so many feelings about that because I think it was like a week or two that they released the report and to say that he OD'd, and it's like, what are we gonna do? Go to the police officers and be like, "Excuse me, officer, I have a feeling that this person was um or intentionally unalived."
Sleeping
Based
with the fishes.
based off of what? My fucking feelings? My fucking sight? Oh, you're schizophrenic. Put her ass in the fucking mental ward. That's exactly how that would have went. Obviously they examined the body. If they didn't see that, then they didn't see that, or who knows if there's more to it. I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to get involved in that. So, but what at the time, I didn't really know how to help spirits cross over in such an extreme incidents. Like, I helped a little bit, but that was just wild. I didn't even know I could. That thing had me so lack of sleep that I couldn't focus or think or do anything. Um, and I remember at one point, like, I looked out my person partner's window, and I saw all these like spirits like coming towards me. Bruh, I don't know if I was hallucinating or if it was real, but it was fucking bizarre. I couldn't sleep, and I
Hmm.
couldn't sleep. And I just, there's science behind what it does to your brain, what it does to your emotions when you can't sleep. And I think that was the goal of this dark
Yeah.
energy, was to drive us mad. I don't know about you, but I felt like it was trying to drive me
Yeah.
mad. And I'm sure somebody's gonna listen to this and be like, "Oh, that's just your trauma." Okay, that
It's
sure, but this is my reality.
a
This
bit of
is your
both.
reality. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, it's a
Yeah.
bit of both.
Bit of both.
It's a bit of both. Yeah. So people might be wondering, well, how did you get through that? Well, before we get to that, let's talk about what the school did without our consent.
Yeah.
Again, not gonna shame the school. Like, I think that if I'm looking at it now, I think they thought they were doing what was best for us because we didn't seek help. We didn't
Mhm.
talk to teachers about it except for that one. Um, but the school emailed all of our teachers without telling us, without our consent. Maybe there's some form that we signed that they could do that and we didn't know, but I don't know. And we found out because one of
This
our
was also after they told us that they wouldn't do that. Like, they
yeah,
specifically said that they weren't gonna do that, and then they did that.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because didn't they pull us into the office?
Yeah.
Was it the therapeutic? It was the therapy office, right?
No, no,
It was the dean of students or something.
yeah, I think so.
They pulled us
Well, it
in
wasn't therapy because I was the only one that, talked to them because,
because I didn't respect therapy back then.
yeah, me either, and that was a big part of that, but that's we'll get to that.
So the school pulled us in after all that happened and was like, we're not gonna release your names. We're not gonna do anything. We're not gonna But then they end up releasing our names to our teachers. Um,
Mhm.
to which we found out because one of them pulled us aside and was like, we thought we was in trouble. He was like, Ryan, Ariana, can I see you after class?
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, shit. Okay, because we had been missing a lot of class. We had been
Yeah.
late. And it, they pull us aside and they're like, "Are you guys okay?" And we was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And they was like, and this on top of that, this is a really awkward
Yeah.
person to begin with. And they was very like, "Oh, like I just know that like this thing happened. I just want to make sure you're okay." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I don't. Did they ever come out and just say it, or it kind of like tiptoed around
I
it?
think it was a lot of tiptoeing around it, yeah.
But pretty much was like, "Oh, well, we got an email. We know that, you guys were
Yeah.
something like struggling or something or was in the wrong." I don't remember. It was weird. Never just out like, "Yeah, we know you're the ones
Mhm.
that found it." So I was kind of like, okay." That just pissed me off more. Again, I was already really
Yeah.
processing my trauma through anger. I was already an angry person. I was an angry teenager to begin with. So,
Mhm.
yeah. And then I had a teacher as well who I didn't attend the class very much after this. And mind you, I'm not sleeping because of trauma, because of
Mhm.
demons, whatever you want to say. I'm not sleeping. So I wasn't really attending a lot of my classes. And I remember when I went to talk to this professor privately, again, our society and the insensitivity, this professor Outway was like, "What was it like?" Excuse me? What? Bro, and I get it. I get it. People are like, "Oh, so
Yeah.
fascinated by this and that," but it's like, what? Anyways, I didn't tell them very much, but I just remember being like baffled by that, pissed off again,
Mhm.
angry Ariana running around. So I was so angry at everything.
Mhm.
The way that it resolved. Do you remember, Ryan? Do you remember I called my grandpa? Do you remember that whole story?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about astral projection on this podcast episode, but I don't think we'll have enough time. Plus, I haven't been able to call my grandpa and get more information because I haven't done astral projection too much in my life.
Mhm.
I've always been warned against it because it's incredibly dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, you expose your spirit and your body to negative energies as well as positive. But, anyways, so I finally, after a month, I put up with this shit. We put up with this shit. Not I. We
Yeah.
put up with this shit for a month.
We were in it together.
We were. Um, and I finally called my dad. And the reason you're like, oh, why did it take so long? Because at this time in my life, I wasn't talking to my dad. I was really upset with him.
Mhm.
Something happened right before I went to college, and I was like, fuck you, essentially. And so I called my dad and I told him what happened. And he's like, Mija, why didn't you call me sooner? I was like, I don't know, because I can deal with things. I can do everything by myself. I had that
Mhm.
toxic mindset. I can do everything. I don't need no help. Um, and so he said, okay, we'll call Grandpa. I was like, Grandpa? Like, I haven't seen him since I was like 5, 8. I don't know. I met him once prior to that. And he had, my grandpa was a medicine man. And I had seen him heal my cousin's, one of his injuries, and I've seen him cleanse a house, and I think before that maybe a one cookout, but I've never actually like really spoke to him prior to this. And so I call my grandpa, and he lives in California, and we're in North Carolina. So I call him. He goes, "I've been expecting your call." And that's not his voice, and I didn't even make it sound so creepy, but like, I was like blown away. I was like, "What? You've been expecting my call?" He goes, "Yes. The creator told me. Tell me what's going on." So I told him the whole story. I told him about how I can't sleep, how this thing. He's asking a couple of questions about more details. He said, "Okay, here's what you gotta do." And then in that moment, I smelled patchouli and sage. Not in my, I did not have it burning. We
Mhm.
weren't allowed to burn stuff in our dorm rooms. Like I didn't have it burning. And I just like got engulfed with that smell. And then I felt so much lighter. I felt this like darkness lift off of me. And he's like, "I'm going to take this spirit and I'm going to take this demon and I'm going to face it and it won't bother you anymore." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" "What do you mean? You're in California. Come here?" He goes, "No, no, no. I got you. I'm there. I'm there with you. You can smell me, can't you?" And I was like, "Oh, oh, what?" Blown away. Right? So I get off the phone and it was like, "I can see clearly now. The rain is gone." I swear it was like this. I had this like gray shield in life and didn't even realize it. It's like everything seemed darker, and I shit you not. It was like the first time I cleansed a house is what it felt like. It was very like
Mhm.
everything was like in HD and bright and beautiful, and I felt like I could breathe again. Bro, I slept so hard that night. So hard. No
Mhm.
dreams, no nothing, just rest. So that's how it was ended. My grandpa astral projected to take on this demon and this spirit. And again, he's a medicine man. I don't know the full extent of how that works. I'm gonna call him and probably do the next episode and talk about that. But I know a little bit about astral projection, that like it's the concept that we can meditate in a form and move our spirit to another place to help someone, to see someone, to check on them. Um, and that like astral projection in dreams is a thing, like dream walking. Now I've talked about like the spirit realm and how you can like go into the spirit realm
Mhm.
coherently and asleep. And I guess that's a form of astral projection. That's about as much as I've done. But
Mhm.
to like send my spirit all the way to California, what, 3 day drive from where we're
Yeah.
at? I have no idea. No idea how that happened, but it happened and I felt better. And somebody could listen to this and be like, "Oh, that was just some type of reassurance. You're just blah blah blah." I don't care. This is my reality. Like you want to believe that, that's
Mhm.
fine. This was my reality. Did you feel lighter after that? Like did you
Yeah.
have anything experienced
Yeah,
during
because I
that?
wasn't with you at the time, but, I do remember, just kind of a feeling of, like a weight, like, it's corny, but, like, a weight being, like, pulled off my shoulders that, like, I didn't have an explanation for until, like, the next time I saw you and you explained what happened.
Yeah. I also talked to my grandpa that day too about my partner and was like, my spirit guides had told me not to be with this person, that if
Mhm.
I'm with this person, essentially it would result into the death of me. And I I didn't like really listen. And I brought it up to him and he was like, "Well, if your spirit guides are telling you, why are you even asking that question? Don't do it." And I was like, "Yeah, but I love them." And I've talked a little bit about that in some of my other episodes, but I just find that very interesting that I had so many people in my life telling me not to do something and I did it anyways. That was the embodiment of me in college. Tell me
Mhm.
not to do it and I'm gonna do it. I'd be like, "Fine, bet." So let's talk about the therapy part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, that was fun,
Fun without the F.
fun without the F. So the college had a counselor, therapist person who, wanted to speak with both of us, and offered, I think, at one point, and, I took them up on that following my conversation with the professor previously, because I was feeling, some type of way about that. I was feeling disrespected, I was feeling dismissed, I was feeling angry, upset, and, I bring up those feelings to, this therapist who, wasn't very receptive to any of that. and was asking questions that I felt were like kind of like I didn't bring it up, like probing questions about like the experience of finding the body and like how I was dealing with that, which I guess knowing that all of our professors and like the like staff were informed about that, like that makes sense now, but was just kind of invasive a little bit and like was just completely dodging like my question, kind of taking the side of the other professor. It was like trying to dismiss my concerns about that. And so that gave me a really strong appreciation for therapy. That yeah, I didn't see another therapist for years after that because I assumed that it was all just going to be like that.
Yeah, I have an episode where I talk about how to find a good therapist fit for
Mhm.
you. And again, during this time, I was not receptive. I was like, I grew
Yeah.
up in an environment where you were weak if you went to therapy.
Mhm.
That shit was frowned upon in my family. So when they was like, oh, wait, go see the therapist, go see the therapist. Don't push help on somebody
Yeah.
who's already like, get the fuck away from me. But it was so bad that they called
Yeah.
Ryan.
They called me and you were in the room with me, I remember, and you could hear like through my phone speakers from like a couple feet away. They were like, "So is there Ariana here? Do you know where she is? I've been trying to get in touch with her to talk to her about this." You're just in the corner like, "Tell them to fuck off. I don't want to talk to them about that. Tell them to fuck off."
Yeah, I think I recall saying like, "Is that the name of the
Mhm.
therapist? Bleep. Is
Yeah.
that bleep? Fuck them."
Yeah.
And so,
And I very respectfully and civilly said, no, she's not here right now. I'll let her know. I'll let her know you're trying to get in touch with her.
I,
Bye.
again, I wasn't in the space for that, and I didn't have that headspace and understanding that therapy is wonderful. But
Yeah.
judging by the sounds of what you went through, I probably would have tried to fight the therapist
Yeah.
as an angry teenager.
Not a good
Trying
fit for either of us.
No. And again, I support therapy now. I have a great
Mhm.
therapist. I've had great therapists. That just was like, we chalked it up to now. Again, we're not shaming the school. This was our
Much.
own perspective. This is our own perspective. We don't know nothing. But it felt like they were pushing therapy to save their own asses.
That was very much the vibe.
That was the vibe. I had
Like,
a couple.
please don't sue us.
Please don't sue us. And we didn't.
We didn't.
It wasn't the college's fault that somebody wandered, according to the report, wandered there from a rehab facility and
Mhm.
just OD'd there, or based off of what we felt, somehow was unalived and dropped it. I don't know, but it wasn't the school's fault. And again, we were processing so much, and neither of us really had any type of parental guidance in this situation. So like, there was nobody around us to be like, yeah, sue that school.
Mhm.
And in retrospect, I'm glad we didn't, because that would have, the school has always been, it's a smaller school, so it wouldn't have recovered if we won.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that we wouldn't have met so many people. We wouldn't have had the amazing experiences that we
Yeah.
had. Like, that is one thing that I give that school, is that the people and some of the professors, like a handful of 3
Yeah.
out of all of them, impacted my life so much, and
Mhm.
meeting people like Ryan and Dow. So
Mhm.
don't hate the school. They're great. They're doing a lot better than what it was like when we were there. So
That's what I've heard.
yeah. We also, we were kind of problem children, with the school.
Yeah.
We didn't heed to their attendance policy, because we had the mindset of like, I'm paying you, I'm paying to go here. If
Yeah.
I don't want to go to class, I don't have to. And especially because like, you were put in a class that you shouldn't have been put in. He was
I was put in
so
several classes that like I realistically should have tested out of and would have, except the professor in question, the one that I went off on, set the bar for testing out arbitrarily high and made exceptions for certain students and not certain other students.
yeah. Again, the college is a lot better now. I'm proud to say that I went there, and that I did have a good time, and there's awesome
I'm glad that
professors there.
professor's not there anymore.
That's oh, it was wild. It was crazy. That whole like reliving that and talking about that is whoo, that's wild. Bizarre.
We went through some stuff.
Yeah, and I actually until like now, I really haven't told that story.
Yeah, no.
I really haven't actually sat down with any of my professors, with any of my therapists and talked about it. And
yeah, me either.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that I process that trauma in a different way nowadays, because I understand so much therapeutically and emotionally.
We've learned and grown.
Yeah, and like I said, the most traumatizing thing about it for us was, or for me, I can't speak for you, was the experience with the spirits. And my family helped me, not a therapist. And I've always struggled with that. Like, the biggest thing I was against going to therapy at that college was I just knew that this person would not conceive the concept of spirits are fucking with me, bro. Not hallucinations, not schizophrenia, not BPD. Like, dude, this is my reality, and I need you to validate that. And the fact that my dad and my grandpa validated it, it was enough for me. So yeah. All right, woo, decompress from that. Whew. So again, we are so sorry for the loss of that person. I hope that if this does reach anyone in that family, that you understand that we're not making fun of it. That was a very serious thing, and I hate that somebody had to go through that. And I have a lot of feelings and like a form of gratitude that it happened to us and not somebody who I think would have mentally shattered, because that can shatter somebody. That's a lot. That's even just like, I'm gonna have to put a trigger warning on this video because it's a lot. We're pretty descriptive, but that's a lot, and I know it's a lot for that family. And that I hope that spirit was helped. I'll have to, like I said, I'll have to talk to my grandpa and check in with him about that. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for listening. This is Ryan. I'm Fawn. I love all of you guys. You're loved. We care about everyone. We want to hear your stories if you have them. Don't forget to drop those dreams. I would love to do a video where I get to interpret them. So thanks so much for your support. Bye!